Let's begin by singing together from the hymnal, page 212. We'll sing Weave.
Each other. Could be namaste. The Christ in me, the presence of God in me greets the presence of God in you. Could be like the East African, Ubuntu. I am because you are. Or the Native American, all our relations. Or it could be a phrase that I got from Mark Nepo the other day. Tsani dabawi. Tsani dabiwa. Tsani dabiwa. Okay. It's a Blackfoot for how are your connections? That's an interesting way to say it. How are your connections? That's assuming that we are connected. All our relations assumes that we are not only connected with each other, we are connected with everything that exists. Everything, everyone, everywhere. It's an affirmation of oneness. We affirm oneness in our tradition, in unity. Our faith is oneness. And we have a little statement that we use. Our God is love, Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. Our God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. Declare that with me. Our God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. So, how you doing? Truthfully. Oh, to use the term from the Sopranos from down in the city. How you doing? Good, good. We have an automatic response to how you doing, what's going on, how are you? Tell the truth. What's really going on in your life? This is a good place to make it conscious. This is a good place to bring it up in prayer. And so I invite a prayer chaplain or someone to bring up the prayer box. There is a prayer slip somewhere by you, in front of you there, a little purple slip. If there's something in particular that you would like to have our team pray with you about, you can write that and put it in the prayer box. That'll be in the back at the end of the service. Good. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome.
This is a good time and a good place to be honest about what's going on, about what you need, about what's happening with other people, to tell the truth. And to tell the truth, some people are really happy that this is a holiday weekend. Some people aren't so happy because holidays are difficult for some people because they may have lost some connections that they've had. Some people are really relieved about the holiday weekend that they don't have to go to work tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have a lower incidence of heart attacks than most any other Monday in the year. Mondays have the highest incidence of heart attacks of any other day, Monday morning. That says something about our work, doesn't it? Nope. It says something about our jobs and the way we approach what it is that we have to do. One of our ministerial school teachers, Marvin Anderson, addressed the ministerial students and said, "You're going to have a job to be a minister, but that's not your work. Your work is to grow spiritually. Your work is personal, spiritual, internal, and relational. You take your work into your job." That's not just for ministers, that's for all of us. All of us are here to grow spiritually, to deepen our connections with God, ourselves, and each other. That phrase, deepen connections with God, ourselves, and each other, comes from a little story in the Gospels where Jesus was asked, "What's the greatest commandment? You're telling us all of these different things. What's the number one? What's the primary message? What's the main thing that we should know?" And he said, "Love God with all of your mind, all of your heart, and all of your strength." That's inspired. That inspired that deepening connections, because love is an energy of connection. Love God with all of your mind and your heart and that strength. And that inspired one of our favorite songs in the hymnal. What number is that? The greatest thing?
It's 241.
241 in the hymnal. The greatest, we're going to sing that now. The greatest thing, greatest commandment is to love God with our mind, to know God, to love God with our hearts, to serve God with our hands. And so this is a restatement of that greatest commandment that we're going to sing now.
The greatest thing in all my life is knowing you. The greatest thing in all my life is knowing you. I want to know you more. I want to know the greatest thing in all my life is knowing you. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. I want to love you more. I want to love you more. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. The greatest thing in all my life is serving you. The greatest thing in all my life is serving you. I want to serve you more. I want to serve you more. The greatest thing in all my life is serving you.
The greatest thing. Love God with all of your mind, your heart, your strength, your soul, your whole being. And there's another way to say that. Jesus continued. He said, it's the same thing to love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's the same as loving God. Now, there's an assumption there. There's an assumption that you love yourself enough to be able to share love with your neighbor. And so I would say that the commandment is to love God, but also to love yourself and to love others. And so deepen connections with God, self, and others has been my personal mission statement. Which one's better? Are they different? They're different. Which one's easier for you? Which one's primary for you? To focus on self-love or caring for another or deepening your connection with God? There's probably one that's more familiar, more comfortable. That's good. Probably good to add one of the others, particularly the one that's most difficult, maybe. That's the difficulty in our spiritual work. The one that's easy, good. The one that don't know how to do that, maybe we should look at that. Is one better than the other? Well, look at the example of the saints. Look at the example of Jesus Christ. Look at the example of the Buddha, other great spiritual teachers of the world. They were compassionate and connected with others. They understood themselves. They were clear about who they were and what they're dealing with and what they're here to do. And they were deeply connected with God. So all three of those are goals for us to work to. All three connections are important. How are your connections? What was the word? Tsanida biwa. How are your connections? On Sunday morning, it's easy to think that the most important thing is to connect with God. That's the deep connections with God. It might be the path of the mystics, the contemplative path of turning within and connecting with God, or studying the scriptures, or working through theological ideas, and finding God in nature. There are some people that only focus on that focus all of their attention on their connection with God. And that could be productive. Or it could lead them to be what some people would say, they're so spiritual that they're no earthly good. We need a balance. How about people that are just focused on self-understanding? Deepening the connection with themselves, exploring the different layers of consciousness and activity within them, the heroic journey of working through the shadow to the light at the center. That's important. That's productive. If that's all we do, we might end up being a little selfish, a little self-centered, a little arrogant maybe. Then there are people who have on their spiritual path a path of service, of giving of themselves to others. Finding the presence of God in the connections between us. One of Suzanne's favorite Bible references is that where two or more of us are gathered, there is Christ in the midst of us. When we come together, open to each other, there is a holy presence in that in-between space. There's a holiness in our relationships. So, whether we're working on ourselves, personal healing, a recovery journey, if we're working on deepening connections with God or being connected with others, all three of those lead us in the direction of our real work, connecting with pure being. Connect with others. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. When Jesus answered that question, when he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself, somebody said, so who's the neighbor? And instead of answering that question, Jesus told a story. He told the story of someone, a merchant, somebody who got mugged in a dangerous part of town. It was on the road between Jerusalem and Jericho. It's a mountainous, wilderness kind of place, and it was notoriously full of robbers. The guy got robbed, stripped, beaten, was left in the ditch to die. Some holy men went by. Priests and Levites, people that worked in the temple. Ignored him, kept walking. A Samaritan came by a strange one, an unexpected one. This would be like a conservative Jew being in the ditch and a Palestinian terrorist stops to help him. It's that different. It would be like a black person in the ditch and a guy with a white hood would stop to help him. It was that jarring a message that Jesus gave. So we can be surprised sometime by who can help. So the Samaritan stops and gets him, doctors him, takes him to a place where he can be helped and pays his bills. So Jesus tells the story, and he turns to the wise guy that asked the question, and he says, now, who was the neighbor? He says, well, the one who showed mercy. And Jesus said, go and do likewise. He didn't answer the question. Who's the neighbor? Well, the Samaritan, I guess. That's the traditional message. Martin Luther King preached on this a number of times, and he had 2 points. He said the people that went by, the good people, the honorable, famous, upstanding people that ignored the guy in the ditch, they said to themselves, what's going to happen to me if I stop? What am I going to get myself into? The Samaritan instead, he said, what's going to happen to that poor man in the ditch if I don't stop? Okay? That's a good sermon too. Now in unity, we recognize that we can learn something about ourselves from the stories because every element of the story can be within us. So, here we are going down the road of our lives, and there's some dangerous places, and we end up sometimes having things fall apart. We end up in a ditch. Because robbers that have this idea that whatever you have is mine. I get to take whatever I want. So that could be someone as extreme as a gangbanger doing a car hijacking. It could be a hedge fund manager paying himself a couple $1 million a day. If we're telling the truth, we need to recognize that there's sometimes an impulse within us that is inconsiderate. I just want to get as much as we can. There was a time whenever Suzanne and I were starting a church in the Seattle area that I was selling Toyotas at the same time. And I remember one older woman who was really naive and came in and she loved this Camry that was on the floor. She loved it. And she was going to, and how much is it? And I said, well, here's the sticker. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get a good commission on this one because I might be able to sell this for full price without discounting it. Now, normally, we never sell anything for full price. Well, they say they're doing it now. But I had that thought in my mind. That was being a robber. That was saying, I'm going to get as much as I can here. Well, fortunately for her and for me, she called her a neighbor who came by and said, well, what kind of deal can you give us? And so we had to negotiate out, and she got a reasonable price on it. But it taught me something about myself. I can't condemn someone for acting out on something that I found in myself. Maybe the behavior, but not the person. Cheat. Okay, so I might invite you to consider what part is the thief. How about the good guys, the upstanding citizens? They were so upstanding they were revered in the community, the priests, the religious leaders, the ministers and licensed teachers that went by and ignored them, or maybe said, oh, poor soul, I'll put you on my prayer list. They were fear-driven. That's the part of us that wants to protect what we have. There's nothing wrong with that. Take care of our own. We need to do that. And then there's the surprising one. The unexpected one. We see stories on the internet and on the news all the time about unexpected goodness from people that we don't expect to get it from. A kid's riding an old bike and it doesn't have brakes and he runs into an old guy's car and dents the door. Uh-oh. The old guy says, what's your name? Where do you live? All right, you're going to be hearing from me. The old guy goes, buys him a new bike. A young black guy who's out on a highway and his car breaks down, and a policeman comes up and helps him get his car started. That makes the news. Strange looking kid with, the way kids are. It's like that, listening to stuff, and ends up helping out a neighbor. So we hear stories about this because it's a little unusual, unfortunately, for people to put themselves out to really help somebody else. Who's neighbor? Who turns out to be the neighbor in the story? So if we look at all three of those, they're all neighbors. We spent some time reading the book See No Stranger. And so see no different one. See no one that we separate ourselves from. Who is it to? So the answer was, the one that showed mercy. And Jesus said, go do likewise. Go be merciful. Didn't say just to people that need it. Go be merciful to all of them. That's the voice of unconditional love. To making peace, to pray for those that persecute you. That's a clear voice. Come on. The voice of love and wisdom, grace, creativity, and peace.
Talking, drowning out my voice. myself with all this noise, but all this confusion just disappears when I find a quiet place where I can hear. I hear one clear voice calling out for me to listen. One clear voice that whispers words of wisdom. I close my eyes and I find what I've been missing. And if I'm very still, I can hear one clear voice. I'm always searching for which path to take. Sometimes I'm so afraid to make mistakes, but somewhere inside me, stronger than my fears, just like the sound of music to my ears. I hear one clear voice calling out for me to listen. One clear voice that whispers words of wisdom. I close my eyes till I find what I've been missing. And if I'm very still, I can hear one clear close my eyes till I find what I've been missing. And if I'm very still, I can hear one clear voice.
Wow.
Wow, I should have brought Kleenex for that one. That was so beautiful. Both of you, you two are just so. It is an example of where two or more are gathered there. You two create this beautiful, such a blessing in so many ways. But so I really don't need to say anything because you said it all. But thank you. So back to here. So when Nat and I left the Unity Church of Denver after being there for around 9 years, I took a job at a counseling center and I was very busy. I was not able to attend the local Unity ministers' luncheons that had been going on for the previous 9 years that I'd gone to. And so after getting all these notices about when they were meeting, I decided I don't even need to be on this email list anymore for these luncheons. I sent an email saying why I hadn't been there and that I didn't need to be on the list. And one of the ministers said to me, minister colleague, he said to me, "Well, Suzanne, since you have not been attending, I do not feel I am in any kind of relationship with you any longer. And so this one minister and I, we had always gotten along. We sat beside each other. I thought we were really good friends. And so I was actually quite sad and bewildered by his email to me. But when I got the message, it was a beautiful fall day. Nat and our golden retriever, Jessie Golden Bear, we were going for a fall hike to the Aspens. Now, the Aspens in Colorado, they put out a beautiful golden light in the fall, and everyone goes nuts about viewing them. The traffic is unbelievably bad. And unlike here, where you just need to go outside your front door and you see all these beautiful trees. But anyway, we went on a weekday morning so we wouldn't have to get involved with everybody in the traffic. And so as we started our hike, I was walking along. I had just gotten the message from this minister colleague, friend, I thought. And so I was walking along in the golden light, and I crossed over a dead log. And as I crossed over the log, I thought to myself, I'm in a relationship with you. And then I saw a squirrel, and I thought the same thing. I am in a relationship with you. I looked up at the mountains filled with these aspens. They're so beautiful. And I said to them, I am in a relationship with you. And I crossed over a stream, and the same thing. And I said, I can't not be in a relationship with you. And then I looked at Jessie Golden Bear and Nat, and I said the same thing. And one way that I describe God, we can't really define or describe, but I say God is every one of us together. The rocks, the trees, the flowers, and the seas, and all creatures, whether of fur, fin, feather, or skin. And so in this awareness that we are one with these aspects of our world, we are equal to these aspects. And what I'm saying is the same life force that is in me is the same life force that's in the rocks and the trees and the flowers and all of our brothers and sisters. Of course, we humans have the ability to direct this life force, but our life force is equal to that. And so that's what we're going to be exploring at the workshop next Saturday about this equality. And what this means is that when we connect to the very presence of God within us, as we do that, we do not need to go into a one-up place of grandiosity and arrogance. We don't need to go into a one-down place of, that's called the shame place, thinking there's something wrong. We don't need to do that. We can stand in who we are, in equality. And so what I have learned is that as we do this real work and we heal what stands in the way of the expression of our true self, it becomes infinitely easier then to connect with all of our brothers and sisters because we're standing there in our authentic self. So our real work may be the most challenging work we've ever done, but actually doing this work is why we are here. It's what I think our souls said when we said, "Here am I, send me. I will do that." And so we all have to do this necessary work, but we are a complete package. We would not be here if we didn't have the necessary ingredients to do our real work and be who we are. And what really helps it more than anything, though, is that, as Jesus said, where two or more are gathered, as Nat said, as we do that, connecting with one another, what happens is as we are opening up the shared space between us, and that shared space is sacred and holy. Buddha spoke about this space as being ignited by compassion. And so, with all of this in mind, I invite us to let's prepare for our meditation today by singing the song, Quiet Waters.
Number.
Page 309. thoughts prepare the way. Quiet light aglow within me, growing brighter as I pray. Quiet waters all around me, quiet thoughts prepare the way. Quiet light aglow within me, growing brighter as I pray. Quiet waters all around me, quiet thoughts prepare the way. Quiet light aglow within me, growing brighter as I pray. So let us take a few deep breaths, breathing into this holy space, the space between us that is sacred. Breathing in and breathing out. It creates a sense of harmony and peace within us. And I invite you to let go into this peace and harmony. These are two aspects of the divine. Peace which passes all understanding, and harmony that holds us all together. And say to yourself as you let go, I let go and I let God. I let go and I let God. And as we do let go, allow an image of the divine to come to mind. However you would see or feel or experience God's presence in this now moment, allow an image to come. And allow yourself to connect with this presence. And in this connection, I invite you also to hear the words of Jesus when he said, where two or more are gathered, there am I. And so let us also bring to mind a loved one and know that they have the presence and power of God within as well. And let us join together in a holy circle of perfect connections. Connections of perfect love. And let us just take a moment in the silence and abide in this holy circle of love and oneness. Perfect love, it has the ability to transform everything unlike itself. And so we are witness to love's activity as it holds each one of us close. And let us imagine each one of us in this room, we are connecting in perfect love. And from this place of this inner connection, let us extend this blessing into all of Rochester, and then let us send it to all of New York, to our entire country, and to all countries. We join together in perfect love, and even from this very place we are in this moment, we are helping transform these challenges in our world by doing all that we each can, together, alone, and together. And so let us know that as we come together in this way, that the very presence of God is working through each one of us and restoring peace and harmony. And for all of this, let us be grateful and join together once again in quiet waters.
Visions in my mind are clearer, drawing nearer every day. With each taste of sweet fulfillment, I give thanks each time I pray. Visions in my mind are clearer, drawing nearer every day. With each taste of sweet fulfillment, I give thanks each time I pray.
Amen. So now as we prepare to bring our time together to a close and to return to what awaits us in the rest of our lives, we bless everything that we are going to think and say and do and be. All of the ways that we are going to share the goodness of God through who we are. We bless all of our giving. We bless the gifts that we would give in support of the Unity Church of Greater Rochester. So if the ushers would come out. We bless the gifts that we would give in support of our family and our community and our life on earth. The gifts of our time and our talent and our treasure. So we bless them by acknowledging the miraculous power of God's love. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Let's say that again together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And we are grateful. And if you have filled out one of those prayer requests, you can put it in the basket as it comes by. Okay? So, okay. There are a number of announcements. This is a busy week. This is the World Day of Prayer week. So we have 3 events in the World Day of Prayer. A Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. Thursday night, 8 o'clock. Thursday noon, prayer service. So for Wednesday evening, so both Wednesday and Thursday evenings, they are programs that are going to be streamed from Unity Village. We got our screens. We almost know how to work them. We're working on that. Okay? But we're going to see the programs that's being sent from Unity Village. Okay? And we're going to have Wednesday, we're going to have a little prayer time afterwards, so you can bring any poem or reading or blessing to contribute to that on Wednesday evening. Thursday noon, a prayer service. Thursday evening, 8 o'clock, the closing ceremony from Unity Village. A little talk and some sound healing things. So, and then Saturday, Suzanne's doing a workshop on equality, on the power of oneness to transform all relationships, relationships at home, at work, in the world. It was a well-received workshop that she shared at the Ministers' Conference a couple years ago. We're going to continue with the theme of prayer. We have a couple classes later in the month, Wednesday evening, the 22nd and 29th, about praying effectively, easy methods of being a powerful prayer. And the next 4 Sundays, Suzanne and I are going to use as the framework for the Sunday services what's called the Mastermind Steps. So an 8-step prayer process. The whole process is powerful, but each individual step is complete in itself in making that connection. Prayer class, workshop, poem. I think that's everything. So, you bring your gifts here in support of Unity Rochester. We're blessed by you. I dedicate them to do the work of spiritual awakening, global transformation, spreading the word of unconditional love, universal truth, and abundant life. We give thanks. So, combine those, and the prayer box will be available in the back for additional prayer requests. So, someday, we're going to be able to stand up and form a circle. We're going to be able to stand up and connect and join hands and sing together. That day is coming. It's coming back. So we can imagine that. Because we form a circle of spiritual power here. And that circle includes everybody. Everybody. Everybody is our neighbor. Everybody is open to mercy. So, as that powerful circle of presence and goodness, we declare the words of the prayer for protection for all of us. Together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And let there be peace on earth.
That was then.
ways that we say goodbye to each other. Have a good day. So long. До свидания. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. Yes, that would be a good idea. Okay, all right, thank you.
I know you.